one production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is at the top of the hours. Try to call the meeting to order now. If you're able, please rise and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming on a brisk morning in Arizona. Welcome to our first exchange meeting for 2025. I'm Tom Foster. I'm the president of the 2025 Board of Directors, and this meeting is audio and video recorded by the RCSC, management, and staff. Please be advised there is to be no recording of this meeting by any individuals. Please take out your cell phones and electronic devices and check to make sure they're in a silent mode, and we'll try to remind you to turn them back on when we're finished today. As a reminder, we do not tolerate verbal or physical abuse towards any member, guest, visitor, employee, or staff member. Violators will be asked to leave the meeting. Let me start with introducing the Board of Directors, our timekeeper, and then our management personnel. Director Collins.
Hello, everyone.
Director Gray.
Good morning.
Director Brissett.
Good morning.
Vice President Nedsign.
Good morning, everybody.
Treasurer Borski.
Morning.
Director Keiss.
Good morning.
Director Ruff.
Good morning. I want you to know I wanted to move all those chairs and play pickleball during the meeting, but they wouldn't let me.
Thank you for explaining that, Director Ruff. Secretary Rickmeyer is ill today and unable to attend, so that's why there's an empty space here. Our timekeeper will be Director Collins. Our management group, the general manager, Matthew D. Lazansky.
Good morning.
Support finance senior leader, Kevin McCurdy.
Good morning.
Is Mike here?
He's ill today.
Okay. So the facility senior leader, Mike Whipperud, is ill, and so his seat is empty today. Non-golf senior leader is Mike Dearmeyer.
Good morning.
Golf senior leader, Brian Duthu.
Good morning.
Assistant to the general manager, Debbie Giles.
Good morning.
Way down at the end. And the board coordinator is Marcia Johnson.
Good morning.
All right, I also want to recognize Alan Kleinhaus, Carla Young, Miguel Jackson, and Doreen Rafferty, who serve as our audiovisual engineers. I hope you picked up the documents off the back table, and we'll address those in a moment. And those should be the list of topics from the last meeting, as well as some that are still open and being worked on. So for our first order of business, let's turn to that spreadsheet. Yes, Director Ruff.
We need to speak to the 3 minutes.
Okay, I had that a little lower on the list here,
Okay.
but I do want to, I will come back to that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Gazebo at the dog park with misters for summer use. I believe that was then assigned to a club request form. Director Collins, were you working on that?
No.
Okay. Do we know whether that was at the club?
I believe, Angela would have told them to put it on their wish list.
All right, let's follow up on that. Library lease, as we've previously reported, that is done and completed and signed and sealed, so hopefully everyone is aware of that now. Thank you for the rousing round of applause. Master plan, that is in front of the Long Range Planning Committee, and plenty of activity going on with that as we speak. Pickleball courts at Mountain View, that is a scheduled repair for the spring of 2025. The PAC at Bell was something for the new board. I guess we still need to work on that as far as vetting all the stakeholders, including the residences that surround Bell. And then there is some water retention issues underneath that parking lot that are relatively important to deal with. So that is still being worked on. Director Collins?
With that topic of Bell, could we get an estimate on the retention? Because that's going to be the biggest thing. The building's the same no matter where we put it, the cost. But for the site itself to have water retention, how much will that increase? That's what the people really need to hear.
Well, so that touches on another issue that likely will come up in the Q&A, but part of the Board Policy 16 has been when you wanted, well, I guess that's already an approved plan. I do not know that number at the moment, but that is certainly something that would have to be taken into consideration to build something and meet the budget. And it may well be that the site would have to be elsewhere on that Bell parking lot if it doesn't meet budget.
Right, I just want to get some kind of figures. We know we're going to have water retention, so just the water retention, how much are we talking there? Because like I said, the theater, wherever it is, the building's the same price. But the site plans is what's going to be different, and that would be what might discourage people from wanting it at a certain site, is the additional cost.
Totally understood. Next item is summary of the budget at exchange meetings, and I suspect that may come up in the Q&A today. Nobody is happy about our 2024 situation, and we can get into that if there are questions. But, oh, I skipped one. Sorry, I'll get back to that. So let's defer the budget discussion until, or unless something comes up here, and then we'll dive into that in detail. Spreadsheet with time frame for short and long term. Marcia, was that to be added to this document, or am I?
What, the disclaimer?
No. Well, yes.
The short term, long term.
I'll add it to the next one, but it's
Okay.
up there since it was a current thing. I'll put it at the bottom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Extend of the Sun Bowl concert series. 25 schedule is already set. 26 is under review. I believe we were considering pushing some of those further back in the fall, depending on weather-related issues that we've been incurred, or, okay, so that's part of the review. Yes. All right, thank you. Utilization numbers of percentages being used for dedicated spaces, that is certainly an issue that a number of people are concerned about. Long-range planning is looking at that, and there are several board members who are involved in that process as well. So hopefully we will get the best numbers that we can as far as utilization of different facilities. Change in bylaws. Yeah, change in bylaws to allow snowbirds to run for the board. That is under review. I think there is a bit of a snag which relates to the liquor license, that you need to be an Arizona resident to have your name on the liquor license, and that's part of the requirements to serve on the board. So that may be a showstopper here. We need to finish fleshing that concern out. Bring back the Ethics Committee, which may or may, I'm not sure that's a bad idea, but it looks like the research that we did not find evidence that there was an Ethics Committee in the past. I definitely could be wrong by that, but we'll see whether that kind of a concern can also be picked up by other committees. And then the last is the Mountain View project update. I guess I would ask that you perhaps look at, there is a meeting for Monday, January 27th at Mountain View from 1 to 5, and perhaps General Manager DeLazanci could explain a little bit of what's going to happen at that meeting.
Absolutely. As some of you may have experienced during the holiday celebration, we had our current architects engineering firm, Triarch, out in the breezeway here with their five large poster boards, and they took a lot of input from the community, people writing up post-its, putting it on. So in effort to continue to hear what the general population of Sun City and all the members of the rec centers of Sun City, they're going to continue that. We have a few more events scheduled even in January before the one at the end of the month. So it'll be very similar, maybe depending on whether it might be inside, but it's not really so much as a meeting as it is a continuation for that neighborhood to be able to tell them without any comments or anything what they feel about those 5 questions. Now, I trust that all of you have gotten the January update in the mail. Is that true? If you haven't gotten one, you can get them at the normal locations, the rec centers. On the back page of that, you'll see a survey that Triarch put together just to get us the same questions out there that they were asking at these listening sessions and visioning sessions. So those 5 questions are the meat of what they're trying to get at from a larger representative sample of the community. So that's essentially a continuation. That'll be the wrap-up meeting at the end of January at Mountain View, so people in that neighborhood can just walk over and attend as well. There'll be more publicity on that as we get closer.
Matthew, how will people know? You said there's some other events that are going to be happening before then that Triarch's going to be at. How will people know where and when Triarch is going to be at other locations so that they can attend if they need to?
We will tell them as soon as we have another meeting with the board and have that authorization done.
Okay, thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome.
Before we get any further, just then a couple other announcements. In case you hadn't seen the press release that went out, I think late last week, the Sun City Foundation and the Sun City Posse and the RCSC negotiated a agreement where the Sun City Posse will vacate the office they have at the Grand Avenue facility. They were not really utilizing that facility. They were having trouble manning it in any event, and basically were just using that area to hand out brochures and have lock boxes there. So they have agreed to vacate that particular office, and the Sun City Foundation has looked at that area and finds that to be adequate for their needs. So the foundation will be moving into that particular office. The posse will continue to have a board in the lobby of the Grand Avenue facility to still have brochures and lock boxes, so the same level of services that the posse was providing in the past will still be there going forward, and that office space will now be utilized by the Sun City Foundation. Further on the foundation board of directors were appointed by the RCSC board of directors early this year, and then the foundation did meet subsequently. The foundation board of directors met subsequent to that and selected their officers. And I believe president is Director Borski, and the vice president is Director Collins. So congratulations to you guys.
Tom,
Yes.
we also have, Chris is the secretary of the foundation, and Linda McIntyre is the treasurer.
Thank you. One of the other things in the back of the room was the membership meeting flyers that give you date, times, and places, and then another one that talks about how to prepare materials for that meeting if you wish to try to file something. So take those with you, and hopefully that will assist you if you're interested in participating in that membership meeting in March. Going back to Director Ruff's comment earlier about the 3-minute policy, and I've mentioned this before, and it's still, I feel, kind of on me here that I had perhaps been a little too liberal with allowing folks to exceed the 3-minute policy. You, the members, have been quite gracious and tactful but firm in your response to me through numerous emails that you would like your 3 minutes too, and you would like us to adhere more strictly to that 3-minute policy. So we will try to do that. I please ask each of you as you come up today that please try to adhere to that 3-minute policy. That means also, I'm going to use so-and-so's 3 minutes, or my spouse's 3 minutes, or whatever. You get 3 minutes. And Director Collins will try to time that accurately, and hopefully we'll have a successful meeting on those. Lastly, let me just suggest for the board that when you would like to speak, if you would indicate to me so I can call on you rather than having us all jump in at time to time. It gets a little chaotic. So if we can raise hands, and we'll try to be a little more orderly when we respond to questions from the floor. Okay. Is there any other announcements any other board member would like to address? All right. Then we are ready for your questions. Go ahead. Names and rec numbers, please.
Patrick Gannon, number 150056. And I'm just asking for a little more clarification about the meeting that was posted on the back of the update, just so people are full. I heard, I think it was Matthew say this is the wrap-up meeting on the 27th. Is that accurate? Did someone just say that?
Go ahead.
Alan? The use of the word meeting might be an overstatement. It is the continuation of the visioning and listening process that began here at the holiday celebration. The reason they wanted to have it potentially is a meeting is if it was inclement weather, because last time they've been doing it out in the breezeway. The breezeway is much smaller and less protected at Mountain View, so we may have it inside rather than out in the breezeway. But the essence of it is going to be the same 5 questions that if people have had a chance to answer, and they're putting together, some sort of curve, maybe a bell curve of what the responses are. So it's just the wrap-up of that process that's been going on since the holiday celebration.
And who will be facilitating? Is it the architects themselves that are facilitating the process?
Correct.
Okay. And then another clarification, I heard you say that, or someone asked, I think it was Tom, that if there's going to be other opportunities for people to have input, my question for the membership is, how will RCSC members, literally, how will we know and learn about these other opportunities other than the 27th?
They will be communicated in our normal manner through email blasts, through signage, through things like that. There is a couple of questions that have to be answered by the board before I continue on that vein, but I expect those to be answered this week. So most likely, there's the Discover Sun City. We would like to have that here on Wednesday. We'd like to have Triarch here at both of those. I can't confirm that today, maybe tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think that's, and then am I right in assuming that someone can come into this January 27th forum, open forum, halfway through or whatever? It's just a time to give input, so they don't have to be there the whole 4 hours in order to participate.
That is correct.
Great. Thanks for the clarifications. I think people all participate more when they know what the expectations are. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick.
Good morning, Jean Totten, 148753. I already expressed my best wishes to the brand-new board members, and I'd like to welcome all the rest of you back to the job. I just want to make sure, did you restart the timer for me? Okay, I just want to make sure that I am understanding the dates that were sent out by you regarding the membership meeting. I went back and read the bylaws, and they do state that, notice of any proposed amendment will be posted in RCSC facilities and published in RCSC printed and electronic communication as determined by the general manager at least 10 business days prior to a membership meeting at which these changes will be considered. The membership meeting is on March 11th. 10 days prior to that is February
Would that be?
25th. So I'm wondering why we have to, wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Well, can you stop the clock, because I do have another question.
Just a quick question, Jean, are you using business days?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep, I sure am. So I just wondered if perhaps you could recount backwards and make sure before we all think we need to have these items submitted by the 21st?
Gene, when you read that, you read at least 10 days prior. So doing more than that's fine.
Fine for you, but perhaps not fine for the members who are submitting an amendment.
You've got a month and a half or more to do it. That's
I don't think that says well. Well, maybe that's something we should make an amendment about at the annual meeting, then, is not make it at least. My second question, if you want to start, oh, you already did. Could you please give me an example for number 2? Any other motions requiring a membership vote? What is any other motion? What, could you give me an example? I understand motions to revise the corporate bylaws.
Yes.
But what is motions requiring a membership vote? Because that could be quite a broad category.
The only things that require a membership vote would be a change to the Articles of Incorporation or the bylaws. But you can make a proposal to change a policy You just don't have the right to overrule the board on that. Does that make sense? So we did, at the last membership meeting last year, we had a couple of board policy suggestions, including putting the committee, standing committees back into bylaws. That's from 2023. And we did that, but we weren't required to do it. If the members vote to change a bylaw, the board cannot change what the members say. But that applies to articles of incorporation and bylaws only. It does not apply to the policies.
So you let the people at the last annual meeting get up and make changes to policies.
Proposals to change policies.
And
yes.
one of them passed, and now you're saying from now on they won't be allowed?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can do it. The difference is if the membership votes for a bylaws change, the board cannot.
Yes, I
not
understand
do
that, Jim. I was on the board.
For board policies, you can make a recommendation to the board that we redo whatever that policy is.
And what happens to it?
Then we review it and decide whether we want to do it or not.
Okay, so that's
Does that make sense?
Yes, I guess so. I'm confused as to why, when I sat on the board, we allowed them to bring theirs, and we allowed them to stand up and speak, and we allowed the members to vote.
We will allow them to do that. It's just a difference of what the board's responsibilities are based on those votes.
But the part of the bylaws hasn't changed.
No. A change to the bylaws, we will incorporate if you pass that. But if you're making a recommendation to a board policy, then the board has to review it and decide what to do with that.
Okay, thank you. It's a little confusing.
Thank you, Gene. Go ahead, sir.
Name is Norm Anderson. Number is 135485. And all my comments are concerning golf here in Sun City. First of all, I'd like to discuss the rate increases. So as of 1/1/24, and so for 2024, if you were buying the annual pass with the additional stipend of $8 per round, it was $925 in '24. And now we've gone up to $1,200, which a lot of people understandably think is rather stiff. So in old math, if the public wants to play with us, we went from $59 to $61.50, 4% increase. If you're a resident here and you want to golf one round for 18 holes, it's gone from $39 to $41, 5% or so. If you want that annual pass, you're now paying 25% over what you paid in 2024. In the pro shops, the poor guys are taking a lot of heat from people who are having to buy their new 25 pass. Also, the people who have to take the money down at the center for our annual bills and so on, they're taking a lot of heat. Probably inappropriate for them because neither of those bodies have any, they didn't formulate the costing at all, and yet they're the ones who are taking the heat over it. So I guess I'm just kind of curious, with the annual going from the $925 to $1,200, is this carefully calculated, and is that accomplished because we felt that those people have been paying way too little, or is it an arbitrary number? And do we really have to go up 25% in 1 year? So I don't expect an answer to that right now. I only got 45 seconds left, and I got a couple more things I want to discuss. I also understand that quail is going to go through a major overhaul, and that we're going to spend quite a few millions of dollars, somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million or so. I've got 30 seconds. And I'm just wondering about the veracity and cost of that, if that's really absolutely necessary. That course right now is pristine. It is one of the nicest looking golf courses in all of Sun City. And I hate to see it all torn up for how long, and nobody's golfing it, there's no revenue. Is it really necessary to do the total tear up? Number 3, our course conditions. Right now, our course conditions vary a lot. Sun City West, Riverview, North to some degree, they are not in good condition. Whereas a couple of other courses like Quail, South, it's like we're in a different community. And so I'm just wondering why some courses are in bad condition. Are we forced to do that? Or is it something that we do, it's just course management somehow?
Okay, thank you, Norm. Brian Duther, do you want to address the course condition comment first?
Certainly. The biggest difference is the timing of the overseeding. When we overseeded, we were still having very hot conditions. We talked to the superintendents about delaying them a week to see if it would help, but even at that time, a week later, the temperature projections were really no different. So we went ahead and overseeded. The overseed pops very well under those conditions. We weren't concerned about growing the grass. However, the Bermuda grass came back far too well. So the ryegrass and the Bermuda grass were competing for several weeks, which weakened the courses that went first. So I think if you go back and look at your list of courses that you consider to be in good condition versus those that aren't, you'll find that the better ones are the ones that went in the second wave of overseeding, and the lesser condition ones are the ones that went first. We did present to Golf Advisory 2 meetings ago a change in our schedule. It's going to give us a little more flexibility going forward should we run into those types of conditions in the future, staggering the courses so they're not all under the same time frame.
Director Keist, did you want to address Quail Run?
I can address Quail Run and the fee raises also.
Okay.
The reason there was a smaller increase in daily rates and non-member daily rates is because we increased those dramatically last year. And so we did a comparison with all the other courses that are in the area that are similar to ours, and raising those fees more than what we did, which is essentially a cost of living, just wasn't going to work. We'd lose more business than we did. What we didn't do in the last few years, and actually for, was it 6 or 7 years, the annual rates for members for the no fee and the surcharge pass never raised at all, which shouldn't have happened, but it did. So in order to try and make up some of the budget shortfall that we had last year, and we had a large budget shortfall in golf, the only place we could raise anything was on the no fee and the surcharge that really hadn't raised much in the last 7 years. So that was a matter of looking at the numbers and deciding what was the best and trying to make things more equitable for everybody. Unfortunately, yeah, it resulted in a large increase this year, which sucked because I have to pay it also. But that was what we needed to do. For Quail Run, yeah, it's in great shape because, as Brian said, it was one of the second set of golf courses that was redone. So it's in great shape because we had good overseed weather during that. But as you go around Quail Run, you'll see puddles of water and things. The irrigation system on that has failed completely. And so the whole thing needs to be redone because one of the problems also, we talked about delayed maintenance for years. Golf courses are in the same problem. Anytime something was broken at Quail Run for their irrigation system, they shut it off. They didn't really fix it. So now as a result of that mismanagement that happened from previous boards, even though they were warned not to, we have to redo the whole thing. And by doing that, we're also changing the turf to the sort of turf that we've got at the North Golf Course on the front nine, which is a much better playing surface, takes less water. We're also doing water reduction in the area, so there's a lot of things we're doing to help lower our usage of water at Quail Run as we're doing it. But unfortunately, because of it wasn't updated in the past, we've had to do a complete redo on it. Also, along with that, we're also putting in the new pumping station because the pumping station is in trouble there too. And the one pond that's on Quail Run that we get water from, we're deepening it so that we have a better reservoir of water to water the greens with. So unfortunately, yeah, we had to do an extensive redo of the course.
Director Kite.
Yeah.
Director Collins?
And let's not forget, this is a state mandate against us. We have to do Quail, and then we have to do the south. Wait till you see how much that one's going to cost. But that's all to meet state recommendations and mandates.
For water reduction.
For the water reduction. So we have to spend a lot of money on the golf courses in the next 5 years, an exorbitant amount just to meet the state regulations for the water.
Well, I don't want to belabor the golf discussion, but all of the fee changes were part and parcel of the Finance, Budget, and Audit Committee discussions that started roughly March of last year and ran through the summer. So and all of those meetings were open to the membership, and many folks took the opportunity to come and listen in and learn about what was going on with golf and other services that the RCSC offers and what might be raised and what might not be raised, including PIF and SIF as well. So all of those things went through the normal budget process that culminated eventually in town hall meetings in late October, again, which many of you attended and put in your opinions and 2 cents worth, which was very much appreciated. And then after that, that budget eventually got to the board in late October, and then the second reading in late November to approve the budget, the proposed budget for 2025, which includes the fees that you're talking about. So it was not by any means a knee-jerk type of thing. It took most of 2024 to arrive at those conclusions. And part of that Director Keiss was mentioning was the lack of changes in some of those fees. And let me just, and some of these numbers, well, in fact, all of these numbers were in the town hall presentations that were made, that over this 17 to 23 timeframe, fertilizer was up 94%, diesel fuel was up 78%, electricity was up 67%, grass seed was up 62%, and one of our big expenses, labor, 78%. We have 8 golf courses. And so we're able to use some economies of scale by shifting some things around, this course to that course, move this individual over here versus over there. That mower can come over here versus, having duplicate types of equipment. So I commend the folks for trying to manage this as best they could. But at some point, we were just overwhelmed by the inflation. And while I'm not going to ever point fingers at the previous folks who were running those situations and trying to manage golf fees and green fees, but in retrospect, perhaps modest increases through time would have been better than a big increase all at once. But without that increase, golf is expensive, I'm sorry. It just takes a lot of money to run golf courses. So I think we're at a point where we have this under control. We cannot, just as I say that, I can't control inflation. I don't know what the Federal Reserve is going to do. I don't think the Federal Reserve knows either. And even more important is weather. We had 100 straight days of 110 degrees, and that hit our budget tremendously, not only on the revenue side because people didn't come to play, it was too hot. That was a lot of water just to keep courses alive, and we lost a lot of foliage and trees because the heat just killed them. So we had increased expenses, decreased revenues, and here we are. So I'm sorry that, and this probably will spill into budget discussions later, perhaps, but in a nutshell, that's what happened.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think I understand, and I think it's good that you were able to comment as much as you could, for this meeting. One of my concerns is that as the rates for the annuals go up kind of dramatically, and my understanding is that we're already set to go up quite a bit for next year, 26, we're going to lose golfers. And as we lose golfers, the net present value, we get that when they sign up for the annual of $1,200 or $1,500 or whatever it's going to be, we lose all that. And that people are going to golf less, and instead of golfing 3 times a week, maybe they're going to golf once a week and just pay the regular fee.
Sir, you're well past your 3 minutes.
Nope, sorry. Okay.
But I love your net present value comment. You're a finance man, a man after my own heart. Thank you. Director Collins?
And one thing, we have to be smarter. We have to do things smarter. We have to put boots on the ground more on these courses. We got to stay watching them so that we don't have mistakes that destroy things or cost us money.
Sure.
We're at that point now where we can't raise a lot of these prices any further on the walk-ins. So we have to be smarter and do a better job. And we know that, and we're going to try to do that.
Okay. Appreciate all your comments and your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kathy Jones, and my rec number is 161575. Recently, a sign was posted at the Mountain View Pickleball Court stating that there would be no pickleball courts available on all the holidays going forward from Thanksgiving 2024 on. And I'm here today to request that pickleball be added back into the activities that are available on the holidays for 2025 and beyond. I have a side note. If there aren't any employees who want to work to open Mountain View courts on the holidays, then I have no problem with them being closed. But if there were an employee that wanted some extra funds, that they'd be willing to open the courts for us, pickleball community would be very happy. I believe I have played pickleball every holiday morning except for Easter for the last 3 years and really enjoyed that facility being opened. When you have snowbirds and people without family in town, it is nice to be able to get together with pickleball friends. And when you're with pickleball friends, you really do like to play pickleball. I have spoken with the last, or our last pickleball president, Dan Haberman, and our current one, Karen Young, and they both received comments and emails requesting or asking what is going on with the Mountain View courts for the holidays. I don't know how many hours the Mountain View courts were opened in the past on the holidays, but I would suggest just 8 a.m. to noon would be great for the holidays. Thank you very much for listening to my comment. Yeah, my request is just that Mountain View pickleball courts be available on the holidays for a short time. Do you have any questions for me?
Mr. Dearmeyer, is that under consideration or thought?
Yeah, very much so. We'll consider that's good.
Pickleball community would love it. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning. Faith Putnam, 169322. Happy New Year and congratulations to our newly elected board members. I'm here today to advise the board that my husband Philip and I have decided to withdraw our recent recall of the Board of Directors of Recreation Centers of Sun City. Due to the 3-minute time constraints placed on each individual to speak, the following is a very pared down version, but a full letter will be placed into the independent newspaper so that all those who supported our efforts understand our decision. After learning that the architectural firm Triarch had recommended to move the Performing Arts Center from Mountain View to Lakeview and the board's willingness to accept the recommendation without consultation to the homeowners residing on and surrounding the lake, even after we presented a petition signed by 65 voting members asking the board to rescind or postpone their decision, we decided to start a recall petition. We, along with many others, wanted the board to develop a master plan before making such a damaging and expensive decision. The first and foremost reason for withdrawing the recall is due to Director Collins withdrawing his motion to accept Triarch's recommendation and his willingness to reevaluate the expedited vote of moving the PAC. The second reason for withdrawing the petition is due to the newly elected board members, one in particular who has a great deal of experience in government. We want to give them an opportunity to bring their expertise to the current board. And finally, it should be noted that the process in which to recall a board member is flawed. It takes 10% of the entire Sun City community voting members, approximately 3,100 signatures, to collected within 90 days to remove a board member, which must also be signed and witnessed in front of a circulator and then notarized, while it takes 100 unnotarized online votes to run for the board. Does this sound like a process that is fair and impartial? Sun City residents need to be able to trust their board members. We fully understand they have volunteered their time, of which we are grateful. And we know the board members are not experts in all fields. However, we do expect our board members to have integrity, ethics, and credibility. We also want transparency and a chance to voice our opinion in a timely manner. We especially want a board that makes decisions on do no harm. We hope this new board has learned from previous mistakes and will connect with a broader proportion of community members before making major decisions, which will have a long-lasting effect. That can only be done by sharing information through all media outlets and providing a substantial amount of time for the information to be disseminated. Now is the time for our 2025 Board of Directors to prove they can involve the community by listening to its members. We also hope they insist on better training for themselves and the committees. Our community has a wealth of knowledge within its boundaries. Let us work towards encouraging participation from them. We look forward to working with the 2025 Board of Directors for a better and promising future.
Thank you. And I embrace your offer to work together, so let's do that going forward. Ma'am, go ahead.
Hi.
Name and...
Cynthia Malkowski, 159062, and just to follow up on this, I want to say the board is at a crossroad, yet so is the membership that may not have the appetite for gifting yet another wait-and-see approach to discover what our new board will do. At this moment, the RCSC does not have a leader, does not have a vision, does not have a plan, and is circling the drain, drowning in a sea of self-inflicted crises. And this board has some control over our financial investment in this community as reflected in property values. To begin to address these serial failures, I request that the board move in 5 ways. 1, because of the random decision to disable RCSC social media coupled with the botched rollout of the website, members are not able to obtain information, including information about the annual meeting, and please don't say, oh, you should have received an email. Therefore, I request that the board move to set up information tables in front of each rec center to distribute the agenda and proxy forms for people to fill out, so we surely have a quorum this year, unlike previous years. This is an important year. Please show a good faith effort there. I ask that you commission a governance review by hiring an outside attorney with expertise in Title X communities. There are 10 such communities in Arizona. This person will assess our self-inflicted corporate dysfunction, consult with our Arizona missions carrier, and make recommendations to conduct our business in a more functional manner via changes to our bylaws, all keeping within our Title X designation and ensuring fiduciary responsibility responsibility to the members. I request that you develop a 5-year strategic plan that cannot be altered by simple majority vote of the board, so that set goals can be measured for accountability and that do not change on a personality-driven basis according to who occupies the chair of president. I ask that you designate that RCSC committees become the central clearinghouses of any business of the membership, that no motions be generated from the board, and whereby board members are also ad hoc participants on committees with no voting rights, and that all meetings are conducted by Robert's rules with minutes rather than the board member-controlled summaries, which will then reflect a true public record for RCSC. Lastly, I ask that you quickly redefine your working relationship, employee-employer relationship with the general manager to create functional oversight. All of this is expensive, but this dysfunction, ill will, and trauma is more expensive, especially given the cost of inflation that we just heard about, which adds upwards of 20, 30, 40, even up to 100% of proposed capital projects just because we cannot get our act together. I want to close by asking each of you, who is in charge? Who is the leader? What is the vision? What is the plan? And what will you do to stabilize this community? How soon will this happen? And how will you communicate this to the membership? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, I don't know if I want to follow that.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Director Collins, did you wish to come in?
One quick thing, just to let you know, the board is in charge, and the board will stay in charge, and they will make sure that everything is going the way it should. We'll do that to the best of our ability.
I would also add to that that the board has lived through this crisis as much as you have, and turnover on the board has added some to that or not, but it's certainly our intention to right the ship if it is off course, but to make sure that stakeholder involvement is high, that decisions are well vetted, that when we get to deciding major capital expenditure projects, that those things have been well documented, and there is a committee that is the gatekeeper for that, the Long Range Planning Committee, and they have quite a process that they're continuing to work on so that any of those expenditures are well defined and defended and justified before it even gets to the board. So I understand that you're frustrated, and so's the board members, that sometimes things get a little out of whack, but I think cooler heads in the long run have prevailed, and processes are being put in place so that documentation will exist and that you will see the kind of responsibility and justification that you're seeking.
I think there's a total organizational systems breakdown. There aren't checks and balances in place. This is a personality-driven, simple majority thing up here that the board can do to change. And there just needs to be a system structure that is not personality dependent, that's repeatable, transparent, and accountable. And I don't see that, and I see the litany of all these painful, the library, the dogs, the blah, 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 all these things. This should not be happening. I'll tell you what, if you were on a corporation on the NASDAQ, we would not be in business. And I fear that steps aren't being taken to self-reflect. And I think we need an outside interventionist. I mean, this is like living in an alcoholic family, I'll just say that. And I think it's time for an intervention, and I think it's time for a specialist to step in and help us reflect on how to change our systems.
Director Borski.
Cynthia, could you please email me or get me a copy of your statement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just and not to belabor this, because this is near and dear to my heart too, sitting in this particular chair. But we have done a ton of things that you may not be aware of between the board and the general manager and his senior staff for who has what responsibilities, at what time, for how long, who has to be consulted, who not, who has the power to make decisions, and Director Nettesign has worked tirelessly to try to put all of those kind of things together. So it's not like we haven't seen some of these issues ourselves and tried to address that. I think that we have successfully addressed those, and I'm sure that those procedures will get modified through time, but we have made significant attempts to try and address the relationship between the board and its main employee, which is the general manager and his staff, so that it is a better functioning organization. So hopefully we're going to address everything that you've raised, and Director Borsey can check us and make sure. Did you want to say anything?
So I guess my one question is allow us to do our job. I think stating that this is a personality-driven board is an oversimplification. Personalities always count in anything you do when you're dealing with human beings. But to say that all we're doing is letting our personalities drive what is happening is definitely an oversimplification. I do not deny that we have not had challenges. I do not deny that I have made mistakes. My only commitment to the membership is that I'm going to do better this year. I've learned from last year, and I'm going to do better. So that is my promise to you, is I'm going to do better. And I believe everybody on the board has learned from last year, because it was up and down. With regard to the website, the new website is actually not up and running yet. This is just a revision. What you're seeing is a revision of the old website. The new website is online to become active mid-March to late March, and it will be a significant improvement. I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing as I'm working with the vendor that is building the new website for us. So I think everybody will be happy with it as well. And the steps that the communication, the OCC, and the tech committee are making to help educate everybody about it. The other thing that I would like to say is that we should be really careful about using emotive terms relating to addictions, because there are people that can hurt, and there are people that can offend significantly. So I would recommend that we try and use different analogies. If you want to make a statement that has impact, try and use different analogies, please. Thank you.
Tom?
Director Gray, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just want to make a statement too, is, I can totally empathize. I've had concerns, obviously, that's why I ran for the board. But I do want to let everybody know that, one, as Faith talked about, give the board time. We're in a process. I can tell you that the people at this table are committed for the benefit of our community. And sometimes, like they say, it takes a long time to turn a big ship. When I've heard that before, I've always complained because they weren't turning. But our board is working. Our board is turning. And so I would just encourage you, one, and I agree, be careful how you look at members here. But evaluate. And I have no problem with people coming and making complaints. I embrace different views. I think our biggest danger is not from people coming to share their problems and frustrations. Our biggest problems comes from the community that's apathetic and passive and never shows up. When you got less than 5% of the people that actually vote, where are they? So I just want to, again, and not just because I'm on the board, but I've worked with these people on the board for a little while now. And I just want to assure you, I think we're going in the right direction. Give us a little time. Be sure and watch, see what we produce. I have no problem with that. If you've got complaints, bring them. We want to hear them. But I do want you to be aware that we have people that are committed and do commit a lot of time. And again, give us a chance to just show you that we're moving in a positive direction. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Gray. Finally, you go ahead. Sorry, we've kind of...
That's okay. My name's Clarice Mayer. My number's 115075. I've lived in Sun City for 10 years, and I enjoy many amenities and activities of RCSC, including golf. My main concern is the budget. This is the first year in the 10 years that I've lived here that we have been in the red at the end of the year. That's not the direction we want to go. RCSC in the past has prided itself on always being in the black. Doubly concerning to me is that golf is more than $1 million in the red. Therefore, I feel the need to speak up about the money that is being proposed to be spent on golf at this time. First, over $6 million to redo Quail Run, the least used course. Yes, there have been irrigation problems there, but to me, I feel they've been taken care of because it's in good condition. Also, I read in the January 2025 yearly update from RCSC that part of the redo at Quail would include Frisbee golf. I think that's a good idea, and it will appeal to the next generation moving to Sun City. I do wonder why, though, the Golf Advisory Board supposedly said absolutely no walking only on golf courses, yet it's okay to add Frisbee golf at Quail, even though this means people walking at Quail. And then I question, why does the Golf Advisory Board have the last say in something that impacts everybody in the community? I think the RCSC board should say if people can have certain hours for walking on golf courses or not. So if the course is closed to golf so people may play Frisbee golf, then why can't people simply walk the course during those same days and hours? Let's keep in mind that walking paths were in the top 5 items desired by residents in the survey. Second, $4.8 million to build a, quote, shed for maintenance at Riverview, the same style and size of building that was built at West. When the building at West was sold to us, you said it would take care of 2 golf courses as well as other maintenance such as lawn bowling. That was why you said you needed such a large building at West. Well, Riverview is only 1 course, and since you already have a very nice and very large maintenance building that takes care of most of the maintenance needs of RCSC, I asked, why do we need to be spending so much money on another huge shed? Third, in the next 5 years, more than $38 million is scheduled to be used for turf reduction at all golf courses, supposedly to satisfy ADWR. Why, I ask, do we need to build a $4.8 million shed when we are going to be reducing the amount of turf? Less turf should mean less maintenance. I feel that we should find ways to support golf so it moves back into the black. Then we may revisit spending money on updating Quail, building another maintenance shed, one that is smaller and meets the needs of Riverview, and reducing turf. Golf is losing money, yet it's where most of our funds seem to be going. This doesn't seem right to me. I think we need to think outside of the box and come up with solutions to our problems rather than throwing more money at them to solve them. Mountain View should be our top priority at this time. The redo for that facility has been talked about for over 8 years. Our money needs to be used for Mountain View before maintenance sheds, redoing any golf courses, and turf reduction. The board needs to be wiser with our funds and get the priorities in order. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I don't want to take up too much time here, but some confusions always comes out of these things. Where does the money come from versus operating expenses versus capital expenses? And that was one of the things that we went through, attempted to go through in our town hall meetings when we talked about the budget. And people were concerned about, well, what about this maintenance thing? Or what about irrigation systems? Yeah, turf reductions. And isn't that going to raise golf fees inordinately in order to do this? And the answer is most, in fact, nearly all capital expenditures come from the PIF funds or the SIF funds, not from you. All right? So when we talk about the operating budget, how much revenue does golf generate in the sense of how much are we collecting for green fees versus, and then cart rentals and so on and so forth that go on at a golf course versus the expenses, the operating expenses of that golf course. The whole intent of the budget process is for the operating revenues to offset the operating expenses. They do not cover all the capital expenses. No wonder when you look at some other golf courses that surround us, how much higher they charge in green fees because they have to cover capital as well. We don't, because we cover capital from the PIF and the SIF. So in a sense, golf fees are being subsidized by PIF and SIF, okay? So when you look and you see, oh, we're going to spend $6 million, whatever the number is, Director Keiss, at Quail Run, that's not coming from green fees. That's coming from the PIF funds, which came from fees that were generated when properties were turned over within Sun City. There's a closing cost, as I'm sure you're all aware, that is charged in that transaction, and that fee goes into that PIF fund. So capital comes from a different source than the operating revenues. So don't be overly concerned when you see, wow, we're going to spend X million dollars for turf reduction and water and so on and so forth. That has to come from PIF, and believe me, long-range planning looks at this extremely carefully and has spreadsheets ad nauseum about how much money is going to come in, how much money could be spent from the PIF funds and still keep it solvent. And none of that affects the operating expenses or the green fees, because that's a different bucket altogether. So probably more than you wanted to hear, so I apologize for that. But still, there is a distinction here to try and keep in mind. So if I've confused you, I apologize, but go ahead if you wanted to add a couple comments.
No, you haven't confused me. I agree with what you're saying, but I think you're missing my point of the maintenance shed. Why does it have to be as big as West? Why does it have to be as expensive as West when it's not 2 golf courses? That's number one. Number two, Quail. I said your idea of Frisbee golf is good, but why can't it also be used for walking? So those are the points more than the money, even though the money is hugely important to me, that you need to walk away with the fact that I'm frustrated and people are frustrated because of the money, no matter where it comes from. It's being spent where maybe it's not the most logical.
Okay, I totally get it. And I accept those comments, and I embrace those comments. Long-range planning has asked the very same questions about that maintenance facility, okay, or proposed maintenance facility. Maybe it needs to be a storage facility, not a maintenance facility. So let long-range planning do its job, and let them decide, and then they will ultimately make a recommendation to the board as to what kind of facility ought to be there. Okay, sorry, and the walking path into disc golf. Okay, we've had some discussions about that. I'll let Director Keiss do that while I take a little water here. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. We, hello. Golf Advisory Committee talked about disc golf and walking paths at our last meeting. Disc golf is certainly not something that's a definite going to happen when Quail Run gets renovated.
It was in the paper by Youthu.
And ma'am, let me talk now, please. And also, the idea of being able to use disc golf We've talked with people on the committee that have had this at other courses in other parts of the country. It's not done, in exception of golf. They get tee times and it's done at the same time the golf is done. Questions on the Golf Advisory Committee, whether that is the smartest thing to do. One person said it worked really well, another person said it was a disaster. So whether we're going to have Frisbee golf there or not is still up in the air, but we're not going to close down the golf course to do that.
Okay, then if I want to go out and walk, I'll just get a tee time and walk the course? As long as I pay my $23 or $26 to walk?
Ma'am, if you want to pay green fees to walk around the golf course and do it in a 4-hour manner while other people are playing golf, no, you still can't do it because pedestrians aren't allowed on the golf course during operating hours.
But I can carry a Frisbee with me and walk along the golf course.
Ma'am,
Just saying.
I'm not going to argue with you about this, ma'am. About Mountain View also, you mentioned Mountain View. I want to reiterate to everybody, Mountain View is the absolute #1 priority of this board and the previous board. That is going to go forward. We cannot afford to let that get pushed back anymore. Triarch is getting more information on this. We will move forward on that because we have to. It's essential to our community's well-being.
Okay. Are you done, Preston? Okay. So just to answer a couple of things, the board is still discussing how we allow walkers on the golf course and whether we can allow walkers on the golf course. It is not a final decision. And with regard to the maintenance facility at Riverview, long-range planning has a business use case process. They asked them to present that. When it was presented, it did not meet the needs, so that is not approved at this point. The maintenance facility at Riverview is not approved at this point. So we're still going through the process of vetting what should be for the maintenance facility at Riverview, and long-range planning is actively engaged in that. So come to the committee meeting, listen to what they say, and we will continue to move forward. I think everybody agrees that we need to be fiscally responsible, and certainly I know no one more than President Foster feels strongly that we will not have another year like last year when it comes to the budget. So.
Thank you for putting me on the spot. I appreciate that. Director Ruff and then Director Collins.
I would just like you to know that we met with the attorney on the 2nd of January for our annual update, and one of the things we talked about was golf course and deed restrictions. And the example he gave us, there was a golf course in Colorado where the guy bought it. He let it just go to dirt, went to the court and said, I want to get rid of this. And they said, nope, you got a deed restriction. You can do 2 things on that golf course. You can have a golf course, or you can have a golf course that doesn't do anything, but you can only have a golf course. I'm not sure that we can do Frisbee golf within the deed restrictions. That's one of the things we need to look at and run past the attorney. Same thing with walking. If we set up a walking time, then we're authorizing it. There's people that are out there walk before tee times start every day. There's runners that are out there. We don't bother them. They don't bother us. Some of the walkers are more inclined to not get out of the way. The runners tend to get out of the way. But you need to understand that there are very specific, and it's not laws. We can't go to the House and Senate of Arizona to change this because it's a contract, and we can't violate that contract. So it's not as simple as you may think to just change with the use. I want to build the dog park on a part of South there's a big empty space on 105th between the first not the tee box, but the green and the 9th tee. It's gigantic. There's nothing there. There's nothing that would impede. It fit nicely, but I don't know that we can do that. We're going to look at the deed restrictions and see if there's any way we can do it, but I'm not inclined to say it will happen because of those deed restrictions. So you have to understand there are things beyond our control that we can't just do what we want to do on some of these things.
Director Collins.
Thank you. And We built a maintenance facility to the south at South Course. We built one in the middle at the west, and we built one to the north. So we have 3 major maintenance facilities. We bought new trucks, new trailers, and we have spare equipment. So I'm in the same lines as you. If we have the trucks and the trailers and we have the equipment, we could take them to one of these 3 facilities. And in the other places, we put it, I call them a pole barn. They're not even close to the cost of a maintenance facility for storage and security of our equipment so that it can't be vandalized or stolen. That's a big issue, our stuff getting vandalized and stolen. So we're talking about doing major things there, but if you were a business and you had 7 or 8 businesses within the 8 miles that we have, you wouldn't be building a maintenance facility at every single one. So I understand that. And as far as walking, we're in discussions on that. Maybe in the summer, we can close a course and make it for walking. And it would also help rejuvenate our course, and without us spending a lot of money, it would help itself grow. So there's a lot that's being talked about and considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Ready? Hopefully mine won't take that long to, what I'm requesting today will cost you nothing.
Name and number?
Dennis Christ, 124779. What I'm requesting will cost you nothing, and it can be done immediately if you have the will to do that. This request is more a test of the character, perhaps, of the RCSC and how it operates. I'm here speaking on behalf of 32 individuals who have signed a petition requesting that the noise emitted by the loudspeakers at the Willow Creek and Willowbrook golf courses be discontinued, as it is in violation of the Maricopa County Noise Ordinance, P23. It applies to unincorporated areas of Maricopa County, such as Sun City. The ordinance states, "It shall be unlawful to operate a loudspeaker which emits noise that can be heard within residential structures located within 500 feet of the boundary of the property from which it emanates." All of the petitioners are within that distance from the course property line, and many are within the distance of the speakers, as my property is. This sound, I recorded a sound, if you're interested in hearing it, on my phone while I was in my bedroom at 6:45 in the morning in October, if you'd like to hear it. It's excessive, unnecessary, disruptive, and annoying. I sent a copy of the petition to the members of the previous board and visited Mr. Duthu, where he acknowledged the petition. We discussed alternative means to communicate with golfers. I suggested a wireless speaker with an iPad that could be placed in the tee boxes to communicate with via Bluetooth. He said it takes time to get things done and instructed his AV technician to address the issue, and that was back in November. Nothing has changed since that time. To his credit, Mr. Collins came to my house and verified the announcements can be heard from my enclosed home, about 800 feet from the loudspeaker, which basically is to the parking lot. It's not even to the front tee box of the golf course. And he recorded 90 decibels at the loudspeaker at 100 feet. And my property line at 70 decibels. The science of sound indicates that if you double the distance, you lower the level of decibel reading by 6. So if you go to 200 feet, it's 84, on and on. To get to 55 decibels, which is the recommended noise level for peaceful residences, you'd have to be over a mile away. So this sound can be heard over a mile away from the speaker. And so anyway, the questions I have of the board are the following. Do you think it's right that the RCSC Golf Organization can violate the noise ordinance that normal residents must obey? And if you think that the ordinance doesn't apply, is it the right thing to do, knowing there are other technologies or options that don't interfere with the neighbor's right or desire for peace and quiet? And the last question is, Are you planning on doing anything about it? I would like to know that answer, please. All you have to do is show good faith and dial it down.
Okay, Director Kais?
Sir, we've already, hello. We've heard your complaints, and you're correct. And I've been up at Willow Creek, and the sound coming out of the loudspeaker to the south is a lot louder than the one that heads towards the north. I played at Riverview the other day. I could hear the announcements there. I've talked with Mr. Duthu about that. We're going to turn that speaker off. That's already been decided. You'll see that happening in the next few days.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So that's going to be taken care of. Yeah, it was just too loud, and it's not necessary for golf operations. We'll take care of that.
And one other thing, the Willowbrook side is at 82 decibels. The one to the south was 90 decibels. Could you dial that one down a little bit too? Let's hear it clearly. Because the people that we've talked to have basically on the corner, they just bought their house and they're beside themselves that is not necessary, that one going to Willowbrook.
We'll look at that. There's only one speaker that heads toward the north. We'll look at it, being able to turn the volume down on that, okay?
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
And would you report back next week?
Well,
you can send me an email.
Okay, my next door neighbor was unable to make it today, and he's an 84-year-old man, and he's beside himself. He said he can't live with this anymore, and he's frail. I'm sorry. I'm getting emotional over this thing.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Director.
Mr. Chris, could you, actually, you had sent an email back in November with the petition. Could you, if you still have access to that, could you send a follow-up to the whole board next week and let us know if there is an improvement? If there's not an improvement, let us know so we can continue to work on this.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. That was terrific. Thank you so much.
Claudia Wilson, 145604. Welcome new board members. The 2024 board made many mistakes. Some of the most potentially damaging ones were only averted by outrage from us, the members. While last year's board wasn't the first one to make bad decisions, continuing to operate in the old ways won't make things better. 2025 is an opportunity for you to do things differently. I have some suggestions. If you wish to win back hearts and minds, direct outreach is needed. I understand that there's a committee for this, but outreach needs to come from you. Take a day or two every month and visit the centers. Start a conversation with members you don't know. Ask what they like about RCSC and what changes they'd like to see. Talk about the committees and how members are welcome to join or merely attend meetings to stay informed. Make it about them, not about you. Person-to-person dialogue can go a long way in dispelling the widely held belief that the board hides in their ivory tower and operates with little regard to members' wants and needs. In the same vein, board members should not chair committees, but rather participate as a member at large, one to a committee with leadership roles filled by members. This would not only reduce the appearance of heavy-handedness by board members, but also foster greater involvement by the community, something you say you want. This restructuring of committee leadership would require you to amend Corporate Bylaws Article 12, which you have the power to do. Finally, many of the big mistakes that RCSC made recently can be traced back to decisions made by the general manager. It's clear that greater oversight by the board is needed. That position reports to you, not the other way around.
Thank you. And we addressed that, Claudia. Did you not hear the earlier comments?
I did hear it, but I was already in line. I've been in line for an hour.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought there'd be some replies, but Mike Modell, M-O-D-E-L, 145164, and I just have two things, one a suggestion and one a question. My suggestion, get a deli pick-a-ticket machine at the door so that people can grab a ticket, that's their number to step up to speak, and then you can remain seated while the rest of the people are speaking and the responses are occurring. Very good idea. Good idea? Okay. Hallelujah. Okay, my questions.
I don't think it's in the budget, but we'll see if we can find a way to spend for it.
With the delis closing, you might pick one up, at a flea market or something. But anyway, question is, when is the budget detail for 2025 going to appear on our website? Certainly we have the overall budget presentation from the town hall, but in 2024 and all the earlier years, there would be a spreadsheet that would list each line item because the devil is in the details, both the capital budget and the operating budget. So I'm just wondering, at what point will that appear?
Kevin, is it not out there somewhere?
Let Chris.
I'm sorry?
Let Chris speak to the status of the website. It's not an issue of the budget, it's the website's not functioning properly.
So, and I'm Mike Dermeyer. If I say anything that is not correct about what can and cannot be accessed on the website, please correct me. Many of you would have seen the email blast that went out that said that we have some challenges with our current website due to some changes that were made recently. One of those, well, several of those occurred. The Mountain View elements are difficult to get to. I believe the budget is one of them that is difficult to get to. So we are in the process of making those corrections to that as we wait for the new website to come in. Unfortunately, there's only so much we can do with the current website where it's at. And because the search box is gone, you can't just go in there and say 2025 budget to get to the documents.
Okay, what I was looking for is on the finance and budget tab.
Right.
There's now about 6 or 7 PDF documents which relate to 2024.
Okay.
And I'm just looking for those to be replaced by PDF documents of budget detail for 2025.
So I'm going to defer to Kevin on that one and ask, when will the new documents show up on that tab?
We could throw them up today, I think. Yeah. I was waiting for the new website because we're going to be putting everything that's on the current web over onto the new one. But we
My
could throw
concern
the
with that
25.
is that's after the membership meeting. And I think that the devil in the details should be out for the members to see in advance of that meeting, so if there's anything they want to address.
We'll throw it up there.
It's there.
That's fair. All hands on the table, so you can see everything that's in that budget, absolutely.
Thank you. And welcome to 2025.
Thank you.
My name's Milt Lebsack, 130662. First of all, welcome to the new board members, and thank you for all of the board members for taking on the responsibility of trying to do the best job you possibly can. I don't claim to be an expert on most of the issues here, but my wife and I have been owners and residents in Phase 1 near the Fairway, Mountain View, Oakmont, and Lakeview centers, and I have followed the progress or lack of progress on the Mountain View project for 10 years that we've been here. My first recommendation as a first step, which I'm sure will not be received well by the Performing Arts Center people, is to change the name on the front of the auditorium here to a Performing Arts Center. It functions very well as a Performing Arts Center now and could be modified at minimal cost to satisfy any of the concerns of the Performing Arts Center people for putting on their plays, and they could remain using the existing auditorium at Mountain View for rehearsals, auditions, meetings, whatever purpose they chose to use it for, and basically, to put it mildly, abandon plans of a new PAC at any place and use the Sundial Auditorium as a Performing Arts Center with whatever modifications are necessary to meet the needs of the performing arts group. And then you can proceed with the long-delayed renovation of the Mountain View facility, primarily the fitness area, and without disturbing the existing pickleball courts, lawn bowling, mini golf, or pool facilities, and the costs to renovate the remainder of the building that wouldn't be used by the Performing Arts Center people would be very minimal in comparison to all of the approaches I've heard in the last 10 years. Thank you.
My first question is, do you have a stool that I can stand on?
Don't tip down. Don't tip way down. Okay, there we go. My name is Suzanne Trout. I'm 32197. And I was at the meeting on Monday with the golf associate. And my thing is really simple. I'm protecting Quail Run. I live on Quail Run, the 6th hole. And as far as I'm concerned, and other people are concerned at Quail Run, and that we really don't want to have Frisbee golf. It'll take away from the golf, you know, because we play golf from 7 in the morning until 5 at night, and the only time that they have a break is when they have lunch. So, but it's just impossible to change people's way of doing things, you know, on the golf course and stuff. And we are not looking forward to it at all. So I'm hoping that this rumor flies away and doesn't come together on it. I like to protect Quail Run. We're family, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Good morning. Welcome, new board members, and welcome back, previous board members. Linda McIntyre, 123126. I'm going to flip the script. As a resident, I want to thank you all for December 13th, 2024, the holiday celebration. I want to thank the RCSC staff for doing a wonderful job. Anybody that was involved from any department, from the Golfing with the Pro to Mike Dearmeyer's staff. I want to thank Maureen, anybody that puts on a duck suit and leads a chicken dance loves her job. It was an absolutely wonderful event. And speaking as the treasurer of the Sun City Foundation, I also want to express our sincere appreciation from the board of the Sun City Foundation. The residents came out. I don't know that people really understand or know that the Sun City Foundation was the recipient of the fundraising from that event. But we are sincerely appreciative, from the Golfing with the Pro to the fantastic golf cart parade. That had to be one of the best that I've ever seen. Everybody really stepped up and went out in full to do that. The foundation was the recipient of approximately, let's see, I have the number here, $5,475 from that event. And further, the Santa for Seniors raised $17,125 this year.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah, thank you. And the board of directors that went out the week following that event visited 67 residents and distributed gift cards to all of those residents that were incredibly appreciative, humbled, and expressed their sincere appreciation for all of you that contributed to those gift cards, and also the ladies' golf luncheon that contributed cash that we were able to purchase additional gift cards. So $17,125 was raised from Santa for Seniors. And I just want to express our sincere appreciation for everyone that contributed in any way to that event. It allows us to continue to do our work, which is very important for the residents, for all of the community. And as we move forward in 2025, moving into our new facility and doing more outreach, and you'll be hearing more from us in the future. But I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Linda. Director Borski.
Yes, I wanted to update everybody on another opportunity that the foundation had or has. We were contacted by the Desert Diamond Casino Group, the Tohono Indian Group, and they had a grant available, which we applied for, and we were notified last Thursday, that we will be receiving a grant of $17,250, which will be used to pay for fee assessments only for our most struggling residents. So thank you to Desert Diamond. What?
That's excellent.
Oh, yes, we have, there are age restrictions. There's a qualification process besides being low income. And those items are spelled out. You have to be 67, lived in your house for at least 5 years, be in good standing, not be more than 90 days delinquent in your fee assessment payments. So there is a process that we have to go through. But we have another $17,000 that we can use for our residents.
That's terrific news. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Good morning, Lori Ellingson, 133335. First of all, I'd like to piggyback on Linda's compliment for everything that the RCSC is doing. I also would like to recognize SHOA, Sun City HOA, for their wonderful efforts in having a first annual Merry and Bright contest. I think a lot of people don't realize how important belonging to SHOA is. They are responsible for the image of Sun City. When any visitors come, they drive through Sun City. That's because of SHOA. So please, please consider joining and getting involved with that as well. Now, the reason why I am here today is to respectfully ask you to change the name of the Elections Committee to the Elections and Ethics Committee. Our bylaws state that we can add, delete, or change any committees that deem necessary. There's a Chinese saying that when a clown walks into a palace, it doesn't make him a king. Rather, the palace becomes a circus. Sadly enough, our palace here at Sun City has slowly morphed into a circus. Now, this is not the fault of the majority of people here today, including the directors on the board, the management, and the homeowners sitting here alongside me. Most of you are fairly new to Sun City. So very few of us, if any, are responsible for the fact that we are living in a circus and we have been ruled by a bunch of clowns. But what each and every one of us living here in Sun City are responsible for is making an effort to turn Sun City back into a palace again. So, as new members of the board, I want to welcome you and thank you for your time and willingness to serve on the board. Now, you have your work cut out for you in order to turn our circus back into a palace again. But if you focus on the values and characteristics of a good leader, you will gain the respect from the members of Sun City and live a life that matters. By changing the Elections Committee to an Ethics and Elections Committee, you will have the help and the advice from other leaders to uphold the values and characteristics of respect, integrity, honesty, and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Good morning. Tom Hall, 133483. Pardon me. I first wanted to just add to one of the gentlemen said about golf. That's what I'm speaking about today is golf. The lakes east sounds carry for a mile as well. I live on the 17th green, which is probably about a third of a mile away. And it wakes me up most mornings also when it starts. But I also wanted to address the cost increases in my playing of golf. I've purchased the all-course plus fee for several years, about, 6, 7 years. I don't know what type of any kind of mismanagement which caused, somebody said last year that there wasn't any increases for the last few years. Well, last year my package went up 18% for last year. I don't have the data for the years before, pardon me, but this year the increase was 30% plus. So to reduce my cost over 30% this year, I just purchased last week the lesser cost executive course plus fee only. There was a gentleman earlier that said next year people are going to play golf less. So that I'm going to be one of those if you increase exorbitantly again next year. And also, I was thinking about if it keeps going up year after year, I play twice a week. I'll be reducing that to once a week or picking up some other form of recreation that doesn't cost as much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Sharon Smith. My number is 142657. And I'd like to thank you for your service, but I know, what a thankless job that you have. However, now I'm going to complain.
There's always the but that follows that comment.
So my concern is the lack of care of taking care of both Bell and Marionette centers. There is black, looks like mold all the way around the pool at all times. Occasionally it looks like it gets cleaned up, but it's right back again. The surface that they use, they came all the way down and then down the lip, and that all falls in, and that's all chipping off both the hot tubs and the tubs, or the pools. It's very unsightly and quite embarrassing to bring anybody there. Also at the Marionette, there was a closure put on the door to go into the hot tub that it's so unsightly, it looks like a prison idea. The hot tub is supposed to be so you can sit and relax, and whoever made the decision to put a huge light that looks like an interrogation light up shines on that hot tub at night. And I know that several people have had these complaints, and nothing's getting done. Is there something going to get done about these problems? Huh?
Well, thank you for raising those. Did you wish to comment?
I'm just
Director
confused
Collins?
about why I have to raise them.
No, I understand. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you have issues like that, just send us an email on the board. Let us know, and we can look into it further.
Well, back in the days of cards, I sent several.
Okay.
But whatever, it's been brought to your attention, and I will just watch it from here out, because at this point, I don't even go there. I'm actually going to go join a club outside of the city.
Well, that's unfortunate. Director Borski?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we determined at one time that that black line is not mold. That comes from sunscreen and body oils.
Whatever it is, it should be taken off the thing.
Yes, it probably should be cleaned more often than it is, but I just want you to understand it's not mold. So.
And also, there are several places like excuse me? The outdoor showers too. At Bell, by the lap pool, are never warm, never. And also the indoor showers at Marionette haven't had hot water for months.
Okay, we'll add it to the list.
Director Collins?
Could you please send an email to Connie Rickmeyer? She's on our board. She's in charge of the Buildings Committee. Please send her an email and tell her, list these issues for her, please.
You know what, I do want to say one thing, is that whoever's running the show at, what's the one down south? Fairway is doing a fantastic job. That place is totally clean every time I go there. So they deserve a kudos.
All right, thank you.
Janet Curry, 155488. Happy New Year. I just have a question and concern about a different water issue, and that is the waterfall at the park at Lakeview. I know last year it was down for a while. This year it's down again. I haven't been over there for 2 or 3 days, but my better half was told that they're making a part, or it's a 60-year-old pump or something like that. And so my question is, it's such a nice amenity, and especially for visiting people and people that may be wanting to purchase in Sun City. So my question is, do we need a new pump, or how can we keep it continuing?
I'd be happy to address that.
Thank you, Matthew.
So you're right, it is an old pump. It was down during the lakes renovation. Mm-hmm. It came back up and it was working all right, and then it stopped. So we're looking at a couple of things. We're looking at how fast we can get the old pump fixed, as well as maybe a new motor. And then we're looking at whether or not we should change out the entire system to something more modern. So Mr. Whiproot, who's not here, and some of his staff are looking into that. We've been talking about it for at least a week or so, because the original estimate was it's going to take at least 60 days to get it working again. Mm-hmm. I'd rather not have it down for 60 days, so I'm trying to get it done faster.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There's one more after me.
Mary.
Mary Shopper, 128442. Let's see, briefly, I have no idea what Frisbee golf is, but that's okay, I'll look it up. Okay?
Technically, it's disc golf.
Oh, disc golf. Which you hit with a golf club. It's okay, Mr. Foster, I'll look it up.
Well, let it go. Okay, go ahead.
I'll look it up. Okay. So the year of 2024, to me anyway, was like pickleball. Everything was pickleball, and it was expensive, and we're going to do all of this because pickleball's here, and we want to do that. Well, the up-and-coming senior, what's coming up in 2025, it's no longer pickleball, it's going to be darts. Don't blame me, I heard it here first.
Okay.
Okay, it's going to be darts. I don't know where we will put it. Maybe we'll put it with the dogs. You never know. Okay. Let's see. For those individuals that come up here, and I've been one of them, I've held your feet to the fire. Thank you for the libraries. Okay? I've held your feet to the fire. To the new people on the board, God bless you. To the people who have been here before, that takes courage. It truly does. Part Participation in Sun City, I have learned that you can do a couple of things. You can come to the exchange meeting, you can have documents prepared, and you can talk for your 3 minutes, and I better hurry up. And, but it's different from having your neighborhood group of 25 people come on over for a drink in the afternoon, and you all chew this issue to death, and then you come to exchange and you say, it's your problem, your problem, your problem. To that, all I can say is get involved. Run for the board. I have no courage.
Yes, you do.
Borski says I do. Anyway, run for the board, and if you don't have the courage to run for the board, show up to the meetings. There's 20 committees or something like that. Show up for the meetings and actually find out what's going on. To the 90% of people who were saying don't know what's going on and the apathy and all of this, then maybe we need a communications tool of some kind. It isn't going to be the computer. So maybe it's a newsletter, a one-page newsletter that comes out in the mail once a month to let people know what's going on and what votes are about to happen. Last thing, and I know I'm over time. Thank you, Mr. Collins. We have the packet bell here on this list, topics. I'd like to see a topic of pack at sundial to do a remodel. I think at one point we had those numbers, but I can certainly be wrong. That's been proven. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Oh, Director Collins.
Mary, in May, we start our new run for the board, and I'm supposed to run again, so I'll carry you, and you run with me.
Oh, yeah. I'll see you at the gym.
Good morning, Ed Van Ness, 116313. I want to speak to the board directly because as being president of Showa Board of Directors, I know what challenges you face. It's not an easy job. Sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes you really have to kick some butt to get things done. I commend the new directors that are sitting here this morning. I know Rick Gray personally. He's a good guy. He's got a lot of experience. But the board, the brass board, has lacked some enthusiasm. They made some mistakes. You know, I have one employee, the general manager. I have to examine what she does. She has to come to me for approval of things. If she wants to go over budget, it's my job to bring it to my board and get their approval. I'm not a one-man show, and none of you sitting up there are a one-man show. So my piece is find some common ground, get your crap together, and do some good stuff. Personally, I'm really disappointed in the current general manager. I think he's done some poor assessment of what needs to be done here. And that is your responsibility to make that man answer to you. And with that, I will thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ed.
Mr. President.
Look, Director Gray.
Thank you. And Ed, before you leave, I just want to acknowledge and thank you and your general manager, which I feel a little complicated here because I'm married to her. But over the years, the rec center has tried to take care of the fiasco we have in phase 3 of Peoria residents being called Sun City residents. And this last year, Showa successfully worked that around with the mayor of Peoria and Debbie Lesko, our congresswoman, to get that changed. And so now all they have to do is finalize which has been the latest challenge of getting the MLS changed. But now we won't have, because as it stands, and I think most of you know, you go to buy a house up there and it's like, okay, we've got Sun City and they've got school districts because they're in Peoria, but their address is Sun City. And so because of the work that Showa has done, and unfortunately without the help of the RCSC, what you've done was actually get that corrected. So we won't have people coming down from Peoria saying, hey, we're Sun City residents and we want a membership. We want to be able to use your facilities. I know Jan Eck had struggled with that for years. 2012, I think it was, we tried to get that changed. But again, I just want to applaud you and your organization for having accomplished that, which is no small feat. So thank you very much.
Good morning. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Borski.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one small comment about the board. 2024 board, 5 of the 9 of us were brand new. We inherited a lot of issues, and I think we worked at them, and we probably didn't do a stellar job, but we certainly tried. I think 2025, we have 2 new members who have been quite involved, and we're all working together. And for myself, I can tell you in 2025, there will be some butt kicking, and there will be some oversight, and there will be some checking. And I'm confident that we will do a better job this year. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Esther Albertus, 134690. Hey, I just want to talk about process for a minute. I think it's really important that I, as a member, know what to do. And I have been just so frustrated in the last couple of weeks because I know you took the comment cards away, and I was told you have to fill out this form online, which I could never find. I'm honest with you. I couldn't find it, and so I go to this pool downstairs 4 times a week, and so I have to rely on talking to the staff that's down there. And my issue is pretty simple, and I filled out a work request finally, figured that out, as we just need a couple shower tables in the 2 showers, number 2 and number 9, that do not have a table so you can dress outside of the shower. Well, in every restaurant I go to, if I go to McDonald's, it always says manager on duty, right? Or any other place. So when Matthew came up with, we're going to have a person that's going to be responsible for that center, why can't we just post their name and phone number? So instead of me going to the front desk, who sometimes acts like they don't know anything about this, and it's really not their job, you know, they're the monitors. And so they kind of look at you like, what do you mean there's no shower chairs? And I'm going, well, just go look. Well, they're at the desk. I would like to have every center have the name of who's the lead person there so that we can call them for this type of a situation. Now, my husband finally took it over from me, and he doesn't even come to Sundial. I do. And he found out who the manager was, and he called him and said, you know, we've been working on this. I've been working on these shower chairs for 2 years. Okay, so showers number 2 and showers number 9 do not have the pull-down tables so that you can sit there and put your pants on without getting them wet. The only place to dress is inside the shower where it's all wet. So, process. I just want the process to be clear. If I'm supposed to fill out something online, then let me fill it online. If I'm supposed to call someone, post their name, who the manager is for that place. I don't know who it is. And take your monitors out of it. They shouldn't have to deal with shower chairs in 2 and 9, and then I'll ask them, and they'll go, oh, well, we told our boss. I have no idea who their boss is, you know, and I'm not doubting them. So just give us a better process, please. Thank you much.
Matthew, did we not post the facility coordinators' names at each facility?
The center leader.
The center leader, I'm sorry. So I think some of that's been addressed. It may be that they weren't posted in a spot that was easy to see,
One bulletin board downstairs.
okay, then we'll just have to maybe post those things in multiple places so that it's not confusing. But I'm pretty sure at least we attempted to do exactly what you asked. It may not have accomplished its full purpose, but we'll work on it. Thank you for bringing that up. Go ahead, sir.
So, Art Van Ness, 168188, new member to Sun City, bought a house a year ago. Been following the board meetings online on YouTube. I don't know where to access email addresses or how to send comments or questions to the board. I live in upstate New York, so the only thing I get is what I can find on YouTube. So I don't know how to find that. If I want to send an issue back to you, where do I find the email to send that to? Number one. Two, you know, you said you want to be transparent. I do believe that. But how do you get $1.5 million deficit in the budget and nobody knew about it until last month or December's meeting that, you know, golf revenue was off $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Where did that go? If there were discrepancies in maintenance that needed to be done. I ran a facility in upstate New York, and any time that something came up that was over budget, I had to go back to the owners of the business and say, hey, this is what's going on. You know, what do we want to do? You know, we can take this route or we can do that route, but it's still going to be over budget. Was that ever done here? You know?
There are going to be additional controls in place. So despite, bless her heart, you know, despite Director Nedesign's putting me on the spot that this would not have ever happened again, but that's okay. I take that and I embrace that. That's on me. But inflation and...
I understand.
Okay, so we're on the same page there.
Right.
Okay, so in response to your concern of how you were handling those issues, we're doing the same kind of thing going forward here of stronger controls so that we don't see, oh, we spent this, it's too late. Right. It's already spent. Right. We see that ahead of that time.
Right. There should be a time frame.
Exactly.
In line with what's going on. And
exactly, and that's what's going to happen.
Gets put on hold.
So first thing is stay within your budget.
Right.
And if you can't do that, then you're going to have to come.
Red flags.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So those things are not going to happen going forward. I can't guarantee with bad weather or the inflation types of things that might hit us, but as far as somebody just overspending their budget and it not being caught, that's not going to happen.
I wouldn't have a job if I did that.
And it won't happen here either.
The other point that sticks in my mind was the cost of the new website. I haven't seen anything anywhere stating how much that did cost. It just, you know, keeps getting kicked down the road, sort of like my Mountain View project. You know, I hope that you stick to your guns and get that project done. You know, I've been involved in Sun City for 8 years, coming out on vacations and whatnot, and that was one of the first things that was said to me, that Mountain View is going to be, you know, rebuilt, redone, whatever. So that would be great if you could stick to that. Okay. The other thing is long-range plans. I've been involved in that facility that they did all these expansions without a long-range plan, and then you get it done and you're stuck with something that's not really going to work for you. So I push for the board to get that long-range plan before you go forward with Lakeview, before you go forward with the PAC Center, because just taking whoever he had come in and consultant come in and say, we're going to stick it here, I don't think that's the right thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll address that. Thank you. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Gray.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just want to say, one, I appreciate, and I've heard your comments on the budget more than once, saying that you're not going to let that happen. But I do want to also say that as a board, we are all responsible. And so I just want to let everybody know that I stand fully behind the president when he says it's not going to happen again. I happen to be very frugal when it comes to, and very strong in emphasis of when you have a budget, you maintain that budget. So I just want the president and everybody else to know, as a board, I think we're all responsible. And from the feedback I've gotten from the other board members, I think we have a consensus that I think we all feel the same way. So.
Thank you.
So you're not alone in this.
Just how far behind me were you going to stand? Go ahead, Director Borski.
As a treasurer, we do have discussions going on almost daily on how are we going to check this? How are we going to find this out? How can we stop this before it actually happens? And we're talking constantly. I wish you would have been in the office the last couple of days. We had one bid document come in, and I think 7 of us went nuts and checked it and double-checked it and asked questions and asked some more questions, and finally got the answers that we needed. It was approved. We did get it to go through. But that was one bid that all 7 of us were involved in. So along with administration, finance, all kinds of people. So we are looking. This is a different year when it comes to budget. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. Stella Van Ness, a name you may have heard previously today.
A couple of times.
And just so you all know, my husband has 16. Oh, 116314. My husband has 16 brothers and sisters, and we've only gotten one out here to move. So be ready for the Van Ness name. Mr. Foster, I have addressed you before regarding the website and the cost of the website, and you were to get back to me. That was a few months ago. I still have not heard anything from anybody regarding the cost of the website or the revisions to the old website. The number that was thrown out there was $350,000. I asked you if that number was correct, and if not, what was the number?
Okay. Do we have anything that we know, Director Nettesign?
So I'll ask a clarifying question. I can answer the first question. The old website, I'm not sure what you were asking. So if you could give me, I'll answer your first question. If you could give me some clarification on what your question was around the old website, I would appreciate it. So I believe that the contract that was signed for the website was $285,000. It was by and large not the highest bid that we got. The highest bid that we got was over $500,000, and there's no way that Sun City needs a $500,000 website. However, but we do need a modern website, and IT professionals and work on websites cost significant money to get what we need, and we went with the company that offered us the most bang for our buck and to get us where we need to be so that we could have things like single sign-on. We could have things where members could personalize their pages, where we would have all of the information at people's fingertips. So that's why we chose that company. With regard to your second question about the old website, I don't remember you asking about that the last time.
I didn't ask about it the last time. I added it this time because comments were made about making revisions to the current website And if we're making revisions to the current website, there's a cost factor in that too.
Correct.
So I'm asking, what is the cost factor in making revisions to the old website when we're going to turn around and replace it anyway? So what are we spending on this altogether?
I would have to defer to Matthew about what the costs were for the revisions of the old website. I was not actively engaged in that. I can tell you that any current costs that are being incurred for the current website are more what we call break fixes. Something's broken and we have to fix it. So that is normal operating budget for that. But I'd have to defer to Matthew on what the cost was for whatever we did with the old website prior to this. So
It was done internally.
So there wasn't any outside cost factors involved in that?
No.
Okay.
That was my recollection. Thank you, Matthew.
Okay. One other comment. I'd like to commend the writer of the opinion in the recent Sun City Independent. I think they did a wonderful job, and I encourage anyone, and they are encouraging people, to please give them your opinions regarding that article. Additionally, since when has the board started to make decisions regarding the shutdown of things that need repairing, which a comment was made here about one of the golf courses,
Quail Run.
That it was said that the board was making decisions about shutting down certain things instead of repairing them. Since when has the board started making those kind of decisions? Those are management decisions.
No, I didn't say the board did it. It was a decision that was made, but it wasn't a board decision. It was a decision that was made by prior management. So it wasn't a board decision. It was people that were running the golf course. Brian, you could probably explain it better than me, but
yeah,
it wasn't a board. It was not a board.
Brian's been running the golf course for as long as I've been here, and I've been here for 14 years.
It was not and never was a board decision.
I would say that I'm kind of wondering what it is that we specifically shut down. But at Quail, there have been some situations where we've had to shut down a valve to a certain area to prevent water from continuing to leak. But those are rerouted. So the course still gets water, it's just a different route, but it's not the best way to manage the water.
Okay, thank you. The PIF and the SIC does come from us, the members. Even though, Mr. Foster, you said it doesn't come from us. We have all contributed to that. It is all our money. So for any of you to sit up there and say the PIF and the SIC is not our money, you're wrong. No matter what bucket you pull money from, it comes out of us. You're mistaken in saying it doesn't, because any money you have that you work with is put in there by the members. It all comes from us. Doesn't matter what bucket you're going to call it. It's still members' money. And you need to remember that. Rather than sitting up there and saying, well, it's the PIP, it's from the PIP or the CIS or whatever, it's our money.
Well, I apologize if I clearly offended you. But SIF so everyone understands that those funds come from, they're part of the closing costs when you purchase.
But we
or
all
when you
paid
sell.
for those. We paid for them. That's still our money.
You did one time. You come in and theoretically what happens is as you purchase, you pay your closing costs, and those closing costs, which you contributed, go into those buckets. And those buckets then are used for capital expenditures, not operating expenditures.
But it's still our money.
I stand corrected if I offended you with that terminology, but it is, the intent was those funds are separate and distinct from operating funds, so that when people were confusing that, oh, we're going to build this or build that, that's going to raise my annual assessment, that would be an incorrect interpretation, because that money is coming from the PIF and the SIF, which is coming from those closing costs, okay? So that's a different bucket of where the money comes from. And in our accounting, which someday we're going to have to fix, Kevin, but we get to the bottom line, and it says before depreciation, and everybody kind of goes, well, I've been in accounting forever, and you always have depreciation, and why is this different? Because capital's not in the fees. Capital is coming from these separate buckets, so that at the end of the day, the construction budget comes from a separate place. So let's not, I don't want to say let's have a semantic argument. Let's just say I misstated something, and let's clear that up. But the intent was those monies come from separate pools of funds and do not affect the operating revenues or operating expenses of the annual budget. So are we good?
As long as you keep clear in your mind that that is still our money.
Mr.
All of it.
It's my money too.
Okay, thank you.
Director Collins.
And Stella, when you were on the board, you spent your PIF.
I know I did. You bet your butt I did. Yeah.
So Stella, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You said, and this is more for clarification, you said an article in the Independent. So I'm asking you, can you clarify which article and what week?
I received a news blast yesterday regarding an article in the Sun City Independent, and it is, I don't recall the exact title, but it regards the board and management. Yes, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of it.
From RCSC, you received an email?
No, I did not. I received a news blast, a news flash.
Okay,
Yes.
from the Independent.
I'm not sure it was from the Independent, but I get news flashes all the time.
Okay.
Okay, and there was an excellent article written regarding the board and management, and I think you should all read it.
Mr. President?
Director Gray.
Yeah, just for clarification, because we had two that, I think one that dealt with Sundial. The other one
That wasn't with Sundial.
was from Cynthia, and she actually spoke earlier and talked about Title 10 versus Title 33. Is that the one you're talking about?
No. What did it say? It's a different one. I'll be happy to send you a copy of it.
You might need to send that to us.
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Ruth Mackay, 159538. I was waiting till the end because I really hate coming up here to speak. But I'm just concerned about the fourth item on our spreadsheet. It said that the pickleball courts at Mountain View need to be resurfaced and maintained, and they're going to do it this spring. And yet, we're not actually redoing Mountain View for a couple of years, it looks like, by the time we get everything done. So it seems like we're going to resurface pickleball courts, and then maybe they're going to get torn up to rebuild Mountain View. So it seems sort of redundant, in my opinion. That's all.
Okay. Director Collins?
Yes, ma'am. We're only talking about $22,000 to re-renovate these, resurface these pickleball courts, and that should carry them until the end of the construction phase, where then they would, whatever happens, happens. But if we got 2 years, we need to do it to keep them playable.
Hi, Cheryl McLean, 100212. I've been here 18 years, been to a lot of board meetings, been pretty consistent on coming to every meeting these last few years. The board
boards have changed multiple times, and I think the last couple boards that I've been observing and listening to and coming to all the meetings, they have been very, very good. And I know the boards are going to be, no matter who they are on the board, they're going to be persecuted constantly by the membership, which really isn't very many that attend. I think the management, I know Matthew, thank you. Matthew, I know you've been persecuted the last couple years since you've been on here, and I think you're doing a very good job. I've observed the last few, or the last couple since I've been here, management directors have not been very good, and that is the reason the financial problems that we are having now is present, because of the last management. Things had not been kept up, and that's why we have all the deferred maintenance issues. I don't have notes, obviously, and I wasn't here the first half of the meeting. I'm on Nextdoor, and there's a couple people on Nextdoor that's just constantly hating Sun City, hating the board, hating management, complaining, and you're going to have that constantly. But I think you all are doing a very good job. Yes, there's mistakes. We all make mistakes, but congratulations to new people, and thank you for what you do. I would not be doing it. It's a volunteer job.
Thank you, Cheryl. No, go ahead. I was just thanking you for your comment.
Good morning, Ray Scheel, 171651. Director Collins, earlier you were talking about the PAC, wherever it may be. You were talking about water retention, or what was the term? I'm not an architect, so what's?
Well, whenever you build something, you have to have a place for the water to go.
Sure.
So if you're having this building built at Bell, it's got to go underground or go somewhere, all the runoff and everything. It's a mandate from Maricopa County. So the question is, if we have to do something like that, where putting it underground or whatever there, we need to know how much that would cost. The cost of the theater is going to be the same wherever it is, but the site issues might determine not to put something there for that reason of the cost.
Got it. Second question, it says here that the new board will handle, are there any particular steps that the board is going to take between now and the next Exchange Topics meeting on the PAC itself? Is there any update that we all can get on that?
I would say the emphasis right now is on Mountain View, not necessarily the PAC. Not that it's not going to happen, but I think everyone is focused on trying to get Mountain View moving forward. And for those against the PAC, maybe they're thrilled, but for those in favor of the PAC, that's probably going to be deferred for at least a little bit while we figure out Mountain View.
Cool. Third question then is regarding the Articles of Incorporation, how often are those taken in consideration when making decisions on the board and for Sun City? Always. Or are they? Always? Okay. I'll save the best for next one. Thank you.
All right.
Are you still allowing people a second time?
I can allow you a second time, but it's only 3 minutes, so.
Is there anyone else, first timers? Thank you. Jean Totten, 148753. I'm going to ask your indulgence and just pretend I'm new here. And we all got this edition with the Discover Sun City. It was talked about. Discover Sun City.
Yes.
Okay. You're frowning. I wasn't sure. I got to go. You mentioned it this morning, but I just wondered if I don't know if you were planning on talking out a little bit about it, because there's really no explanation for people who are new here
what is Discover Sun City? So living in Sun City is about more than just fun in the sun. From swimming pools to golf courses and lending a hand to help a neighbor to serving the community at large. Living in Sun City offers more than just a home. It offers a lifestyle unlike anywhere else. All new and existing Sun City residents are warmly invited to learn all about the Sun City lifestyle at the 2025 Discover Sun City, et cetera, et cetera. Step inside the Sundial Auditorium and be wowed by the site. It will be packed with tables of information from our clubs, groups, and our community organizations from throughout the Sun City. Representatives will be on hand to provide information and answer your questions, and a video will be shown with visual highlights as well. This event happens just once a year, whether you've lived here for 1 year, 1 month, or 1 week. Do try to attend. That was just, I thought we needed to just take these ads a little bit further so that anyone who has no idea what Discover Sun City is now knows because of my standing here.
Go ahead, Director Borski.
Jean, where do you want this information to be placed? Where would you like?
Wherever you advertise Discover Sun City, in a paragraph on a special email blast.
Okay.
I've only got 30 seconds. On the bulletin boards next to this poster.
Okay, I'm just asking where you want to see this.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
And it's just like the person who mentioned, where do I go to get emails? I just had a woman come up to me and say, I've lived here 2 years. What is an email blast and how do I get it? Now, I realize that some of the onus has to go on a member, but I just want to make sure we're constantly letting people know these things.
Thank you, Jean.
Sorry.
Always defer. Good morning, Ben Roloff, 12663. Tom, last time I was here, I overstayed my 3 minutes. This time I'll give you back some of that time. I can't resist giving you just a little bit of history here. I was here on the Long Range Plan Committee when we recommended to the board in 2000 to institute the PIF. And I was here in the audience when we filled the place. And I was here when the realtors told us that instituting that PIF for a little over $1,000 was going to be the end of real estate sales in Sun City. And they, one after another, came and lamented that you've just killed our home values of Sun City. Well, that was 24 years ago, and I think history would not bear out their prognostication about that. So I think what we are now combined at 4,000 for PIF and 1,000 for the SIF, and we still continue on. So we can argue about what bucket it goes in and what it doesn't. But I was actually here. I'm probably one of the rare people in the room who never paid a PIF because I was here before it.
Well, we can rectify that, Ben, right now.
I'm sure that you can. Please don't. The other thing was just congratulations to all the new members of the board. I hope you have a fabulous year. If the board have a fabulous year, that means you're going to have a fabulous year too, Matt. And we all could use a fabulous year for sure. Last thing, we were here for the kickoff of the Wednesday night entertainment with Spinfini. It was an absolutely fabulous, different type of an entertainment, but what a great way to start out 12 terrific Wednesday nights for our members. So thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Ben. Director Kais.
Yeah, I think I speak for everybody. Ben Roloff might be the only person that we allowed to go over 3 minutes because the insights and the history that he gives us into Sun City are just precious, and you're a gem, Ben, and we all appreciate what you do for us.
Art Van Hess.
Yes.
168188. You're talking about the budget and sources of income, golf being one. I guess bowling being another, and then our assessment fees. Is that the three?
Those are the main ones, yes, sir.
What other options are available?
Miscellaneous fees that don't really amount to very much, but you've hit on the three major sources of income, yes, sir.
Is the board looking for other sources of income to put into the budget?
Well, yes. Some of that is potentially foundation-based, that the foundation may be able to bring funds into the community that would then not have to come from SIF or PIF. For instance.
But that SIF and PIF are not part of the operating budget, right?
They are not part of the thank you. That's correct. They are not.
What is the board looking into to offset, other than golf and bowling, to offset budget? Is there any ideas of what we could do to bring in money other than that? You know, golf, of course, is big. You got to pay for it if you want to do it. There's, you know, all these clubs have functions and stuff, and they keep them separate.
Well, yes and no. For instance, the men's club holds
bingo
here, and it's an incredible fundraiser that generates revenue for RCSC.
Right.
Because part of those,
again, that doesn't go into the doesn't go into the budget, operating budget.
Excuse me. That is operating revenue. It's other operating revenue, but it does come into the operating budget. Yes, sir.
So looking forward, is there any ideas kicking the can down the road to bring in?
Well, maybe we should have 2 bingo nights instead of 1. But
two bingo nights, right?
No, no one has brought anything forward at the moment for that sounds to be a material revenue raiser.
Like, well, you know, with the golf, I didn't buy a pass last year, so I kept track of everything that I spent out on golfing, and it came down to within $200 whether I bought a pass or not. So for being here for 4 months out of the year, there's no incentive for me to buy a pass. What was the intention of that pass to begin with?
Well, the pass, it really is an individual decision based on how many rounds you think you're going to play. And a lot of those costs are based on roughly an assumption of 100 rounds in the year, or the calendar year that you bought, the fiscal year, excuse me, that you bought your pass. So when you look at whether or not it makes sense for you to buy the all-in pass or the participating pass, it depends how many rounds you think you're going to play. For many folks who play 4 or 5 times a week, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
I think probably as we look at how this thing rolls out in the future, more and more people will be leaving that all-in pass and moving to the pass that has the surcharge. Thank you, wrong term. The surcharge, because they're able to control things a little better as far as if they're changing their pattern of playing golf. But again, it's still an individual choice. If you're going to play 4 times, 5 times a week, I wish my back would take that, but it will never probably do that. But it becomes probably less economic to buy that all-in pass and instead buy the other one.
Yeah, it just, I know in the East, you know, you buy a pass for a specific course. I don't know, you know, if the courses get played more, if it would be an idea to look at that course, say 90% of the people play this course, and you charge more for that pass for that course, or can you break it down that way?
I think so that we would prefer not to do that, because one of the benefits of being in Sun City is that I can play on different courses, and I use the same fee for it. So whether you're paying with the surcharge or the no-fee pass, I think being able to play on 8 different courses is one of the real benefits of it. So I don't know that we want to look into that. I don't think that would be well received by the members.
Yeah.
One of the things we have talked about is instead of an annual no-fee pass, maybe smaller, like if you're going to play, 50 rounds, a 50-round pass or something like that. So those are the discussions, but we have to look at how the numbers are going to work with that, and it's something we're looking into.
Yeah, that's a numbers pass would probably be more. That would give you, like me, I could play 50 rounds in 4 months without any problem, but to offset the $900, I'd have to play 300 rounds,
Yeah, we're looking at that. I don't know the numbers yet, but this is something we're going to look into.
Okay, thank you.
Director Borski.
Again, as the treasurer, I'm concerned about income and expenses. And if you have an idea where you think that we should be looking for extra revenue, please email me. Let me know what you think, and we'll look them over and see what we can do to help us with our bottom line.
Keep it to legal things. We might be able to raise a lot of money doing other things, but we prefer not to go to jail.
Some of us are too old to do those other things.
Ruth, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. Ruth Mackay, 159538. I knew that I had this question, but I wasn't positive about it. But I'm looking at the last page of the Sun City magazine that we got in the mail, and Mr. Delazansky referred to 5 questions that are supposed to be on the last page, but I'm looking at the online last page, and I don't see the 5 questions, so could you tell us what the 5 questions are, please?
The questions?
Regarding Mountain View?
Yeah, it's the same questions we had at the holiday event, and what I was saying is those 5 questions are in that survey that's referenced on that page. They're the same questions.
On the last page?
Yes, where it talks about the Mountain View.
There's a website.
It is not there. The survey is there. When you go to the survey, it'll have the same 5 questions that have been asked.
Oh, on where it says
Yes.
if you give your input on the online survey. Okay, I'll check it out.
Right.
Sorry about that.
No. Good question. Thank you.
Tom? That's not our survey, that's Triarch's survey. Just so you know that we are not asking those questions, they are.
And when you put it in, make sure you put it, or you get sent to California.
Okay. Claudia, go ahead.
Claudia Wilson, 145604. As you can see, I was ready to leave. But I presented an idea for a revenue income stream to the 2023 board, and that was to lease a small amount of our property to an electric vehicle recharging station. And it was referred to the technology committee. I went to their meeting. Director Ruff told me, based on a study done in Maine, I don't know what that has to do with Arizona, but a study done in Maine, that nobody wants that. So I looked at that study, and I've followed Maine's position on that, and they are actively now pursuing expanding their network of electric vehicle charging stations. It takes some negotiation. There are a lot of companies out there that do it, but you can essentially set aside a small portion of your property, maybe 2 or 3 parking spots. You know, what it looks like the one up at Safeway. It takes up 1 parking spot, and a company will build the charging station there, and they will operate it. You don't have any function of that. The only thing you supply is that little portion of land and the electricity, which I have also been assured by another knowledgeable member on that committee would be very small on our part. It wouldn't be a big expense that we would be outlaying, but we would have a guaranteed monthly income stream. And as more electric vehicles hit the market, that's going to be in more demand. I think it's worth pursuing again.
Okay.
So, Cloudy, that was referred to the Long Range Planning Committee. So I will need to follow up with the Long Range Planning Committee to see where that landed. I was not on the board when I think that was taken up by the Long Range Planning Committee. So I will reach out to the Long Range Planning Committee and have a conversation of where it landed.
I still have my links to the research that I had done, which, I'm not an expert, and I didn't extensively research it, but I do have some background that they may find useful. If they want that information, just let me know. I'll be happy to pass it along.
Great, thanks, Cloudy. I think Steve is on Long Range Planning. Are we okay with Steve? You want to come up to the mic, Steve, please?
Okay, to Claudia's point, long-range planning, try to use...
Member, number, and name?
Steve Oakes, 115074, thank you. Long-range planning used as a test case as a request from a board member to look at electric vehicle charging stations. So it was a good opportunity to use our process for examining capital projects. And what we found was that you can bring in a certain amount of revenue. The revenue, and this is going by memory, so I'd have to dig up the actual form and analysis, but I think we were only going to be able to make on a single station or two stations about $18,000 a year. Now, I say only, which is not a good statement maybe, because any revenue generation should be, to Director Borski's comment you'd like to know about, there's an example. And that's with one or two stations. If you put them in other places, because you have other facilities, but one of the issues was you need to have traffic. So you wouldn't want to put it maybe at a remote location such as Mountain View, but you would maybe at Bell, for example. Lakeview also, yes. So that was a summary of the analysis that LRP went through.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And there were some, unfortunately, as with everything, there's always insurance ramifications.
Right, yeah, I understand. And my research, again, is 2 years old, but what I found there, a lot of the amount of revenue that you can realize depends on the capacity that the charging station is built at. And more capacity, meaning that the car can be charged faster, obviously is going to bring in more revenue. And the figure, 2 years old, but the figure then was $8,000 a month.
Well, that's pretty aggressive, but nonetheless, let's look at it.
Competition has increased, and so the longer we wait, the less worthwhile it's going to be.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Ma'am?
My name is Linda Thompson. My number is 11537. And I'm up here again asking about the property at 99th, that's developable. I can't remember the other cross street. Olive, yes. I'm wondering, do we know if that piece of property has the age overlay on it? Yes or no?
It does not.
So why would we approve 12?
We would not. We won't approve that.
Okay.
So that's kind of already, that developer has made their decision. Anyone who purchases there will not be able to come to RCSC and try to use RCSC facilities because that development is not in compliance.
Okay, yes. We did not know that at previous meetings. And that was my concern, was that we approved $12,000 for people to buy into that, to buy that property and become part of RCSC. Is that correct?
Well, not quite. We did do the $12,000, but that was to the developer, that if the developer met all the criteria and was going to then try to sell them as RCSC.
Part of RCSC.
That $12,000 would apply.
Right.
The developer chose not to do that, so the $12,000 does not apply, and those homes cannot join RCSC.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Anybody else? It's lunchtime. My stomach is growling severely. All right, our next meeting of the Board of Directors will be on January 30th at 9 a.m. here at Sundial. The next exchange will be February 10th at 9 a.m. again here. And the annual meeting, as we were referring to earlier, is March 11th at 6 p.m. here at Sundial. All right, there being no further business and without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending. Don't forget to turn your phones back.
Turn your phones back on.
So I think I tried to do that.
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.